Hi, friends. Welcome to the Seek Holy Living podcast with Christus Svoboda. I am a wife to my wonderful husband, mom to my 5 precious children, and a friend to some amazing moms that I can't wait to introduce to you. Mothering is not a journey meant to be traveled alone. Join me every Monday for a new podcast where you will find hope, joy, and purpose.
Fall is a season of fresh starts with new goals and dreams for the year ahead, and I love it. But this year, don't you feel like you're getting dragged into fall? Our lives were put on pause with the COVID pandemic, and then we went into the summer not knowing what to expect. Now summer has passed, and it's fall, and I can't believe that things aren't back to normal. We've all heard that this is the new normal. So many moms are struggling with finding hope going into this fall season. But you can choose to create a beautiful new normal in your home by planning with intentionality. Joining me today are my friends Sarah Holmstrom and Michelle Acromi. They are wonderful examples of leading a life of purpose in their homes. These women will encourage you to prioritize what matters, and they will share what brings them hope and joy. So whether this finds you doing laundry or dishes, in the car, or relaxing and enjoying a cup of coffee, I'm glad you can join us for this conversation.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so glad to be here with a couple of very dear friends. I have my friends Michelle and Sarah with me, and I'm so glad you guys could be here to talk with me about this topic today. Both of them have larger families. Sarah has 4 kids, and Michelle has 5, and all of our children are on the younger end. I think that my oldest is 11, almost 11, and your oldest is 10, right, Michelle? Mm-hmm. And then Sarah, your oldest is
8.
8.
Yes.
So we're kind of past those like little tiny years, but definitely have children all in the middle together, which has just it's been so encouraging to walk alongside other moms who do it so intentionally. And I think that's why you guys both came to mind for this topic today, is I watched how intentionally you both mother, and that you take it on in the same responsibility that I think someone would take on a job. That the way someone would say, okay, I'm going to plan my next season of this business out. That I watch the way that you parent and the way that you run your homes and how purposeful it is, and that it doesn't just happen. It doesn't like just happen to be a week that was just a good week. You both do it with such purpose and with just such intentionality. And I think it's just really beautiful and inspiring to me, and it makes me want to be a better mom and be more intentional in my home. And I know that there are many other moms, as we're just jumping into the fall season, that I think everyone's getting ready to plan, okay, what's this next season going to look like? And this is a weird fall, right?
Yes. Super weird.
I feel like it's such a weird one to, and fall is normally such a time of fresh starts that I normally love it. And I just get excited about planning for fall and all of the fall things.
Yeah.
But this fall, because of coming off of this whole quarantine season, it feels like we kind of just got thrown into summer, and then summer happened, and now fall's around the corner. And I realized that I have not felt excited about planning for our fall, which is really sad to me, because normally that's something that I just is dear to my heart, is this season of just the cozy things and what's to come and the newness of a season. And so I would love to hear from you. How have you guys been feeling about planning for this upcoming time?
Yeah. Well, thank you for your encouragement, Krista. I feel the same way about you from getting to watch you with your kids. And I feel the same way. I feel like we have come off of such a hard time, and the whole world really, not just us. We've all experienced loss in different ways. But because of that, I feel like, okay, now it's time to take what we've learned and bring it to our homes. And so I feel really encouraged. I feel like for me personally, I am a recovering perfectionist, and I feel like God has taught me a lot of things during this time, and I've learned a lot of things as far as just not hurrying my kids everywhere we go, because we're not really going to many places.
Right.
So
that has been beautiful.
Yes, there has been some really beautiful things about it. And I would say we're homeschooling for the first time ever, and we'd kind of already planned to do that, but COVID solidified that. So I'm excited. And I feel like my kids are excited. They think of it as this big adventure that we're about to do. But also there is the big question mark of how to juggle everything in the fall. You know, I still have a job and still have things going on and am schooling the kids. So, and the youngest one, we talked about this earlier, but he is just determined to go to the ER or pour water on anything that's electronic or Sharpie any wall. So I'm excited about the fall, but also need as much prayer and tips as I can get too. So
Yes. Well, I think something that I've been really pondering the last month is, before we've been getting into the fall, is just being surrendered and open to different possibilities this year. You know, as far as schooling for our kids, we changed a lot. Like, we've homeschooled from the beginning, but we were in a different program last year, and now we're completely at home. And we did 1 week of school this last week. We started, and I've already seen some good fruit from it, even saying from my kids, you know, and just, I'm trying to just keep an open hand, because things are going to change month to month and things like that. But I feel like just being flexible too has been something that I've been trying to keep in mind as we enter this new year and season.
Yeah. I realize too, it's funny, I feel like we have a lot of power as moms to sell our kids on anything. Like, we cannot know what's for dinner, and they can say, what are we having? Like, you're going to see. It's going to be something so good. Yeah. And then they're like, oh, we're having something special tonight. And you're like, it's rolled up sandwich meat, but you're going to love it. And we're going to eat it on the floor. And so then we call it a picnic, and now it's happy.
Yes.
And I've kind of felt that way going into fall. Like, the things that are different, that have felt, to my heart, truthfully disappointing. And I've kind of had to reconcile with those things. Like, how many things have I felt disappointed by? Of so the losses. Things. I mean, even being pregnant through this, it's funny, it's my 5th pregnancy, but like, it's still special, and you still share it with people normally. So being pregnant away from like all of our big community places is weird, and it's kind of sad. And so reconciling with these things are sad, and these things feel disappointing, but that we get to choose to paint this next season for our children. And I know that one of mine especially really does not love the online format of anything. And it was so interesting trying to decide how I was going to share that we have some opportunities of things that we normally did in our regular life that are going to be online instead. And we're going to give it a go. We'll try it for a month. And if it works really well and it ends up feeding their hearts, great. And if it doesn't, then we'll scrap it and we'll do something different. And that's fine too. But the way that I shared it with them, I was like, guys, this is so exciting. I just got an email and we're going to get to do this. And all of them were so excited. Like, when do we start? And I was like, soon.
Yes.
But do you feel like your kids have been feeding off of you so much?
Oh my gosh.
Very much so.
So much. I feel like, especially at the beginning, like when quarantine first started. And like I said, the perfectionist in me, which also means that I struggle with anxiety. And so those first few days of watching the news, and I didn't even know they were listening or that they could feel it, but they did. They were, you know, they were feeling everything I was feeling. And so I agree with you, like, to have a few minutes to kind of think about how you're going to communicate with them. Even last night, you were talking about your picnic on the floor. Last night, I had no dinner plans. And so we had a tea party dinner, and we made pancakes with like syrup, but put them on little tea plates. And they are like still talking about how special it was. So I think you're right. They feed off of us. And so us going into this season saying like, this is so different. We're not going to do X, Y, and Z, but we're going to have all this family time together. We're going to go on these adventures. We're going to do this fun thing online that no one's ever gotten to do before. The way that we share it with them makes a big difference.
Totally. Even you calling it an adventure. Like, we're going to go outside once a week and be together versus like, we're going to have a nature adventure day, guys. Yes, nature adventure day.
Yes.
Totally. What about you? Do you feel like your kids have been feeding off of each other, or you guys in different ways too?
Yeah, I think so. I think I've had to learn to lead a little bit even more intentionally, I think, as a mom, with my kids. I mean, with 5, it's definitely a team, with 4 and 5.
My littlest even says, she now says, go team.
Yes. Go team. And that's been a byproduct. I feel like my husband and I have really recognized. We're like, wow, okay, let's lean into this team mentality because that's helped us, but I think, we're definitely adjusting, to that, and, how I frame it to the kids is everything.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. And Sarah, you're in a little bit of an interesting position because while all of us have kids who are like 11 or below, your husband is our youth pastor. So you guys have a lot of hands-on contact with youth.
Yes.
What are you guys hearing from the hearts of our youth right now?
That's such a good question.
And these are churched kids mostly.
Exactly. So it's probably even harder for kids that don't have as much of a community. And I do think that us with young kids, or who's ever listening with young kids, that we have this nice thing that we're, that we can frame these things in an exciting way, and we can spend this time together in our homes. But I do worry a lot about the older kids. I think preteens and teens and young adults really have it the hardest. Many of them already struggle with social awkwardness because of the rise of technology. They feel more comfortable behind their phones, and also those years we remember that can be kind of awkward
or extremely awkward.
I was extremely awkward, yes. But I think that they're struggling even more with that, and we've seen that, and even having an even more difficult time talking with adults. But I also think an even harder thing is just the isolation. I think when you struggle with any type of mental health, which a lot of our teenagers do with anxiety or depression, when you don't have a tribe, when you don't have people around you, it's easier for those things to get harder. So I think they're struggling going into fall with all these disappointments, the things that they had planned on doing that they aren't getting to do.
Well, and I've found for us, I've been having to look at our plans of what are we going to do as I'm making them, looking at what worked and what didn't, and saying, okay, because the things that worked before, when we had all of our outside of home activities, where I could say, okay, I'm not fully responsible for this area of your life right now. Someone else is helping to carry this banner for me. I feel like our culture in America is really quick to want to carry responsibilities of children for parents, that you can hand them off for I can hand them off for their, Bible memorization. I can hand them off for their physical activity to a sports somebody. I can hand them off for all these things. Whereas now I've been handed these back, and it's caused me to really reevaluate everything and say, okay, what is most important?
Yes.
And what's working well and what isn't, and really look at each of their hearts to say, this person's heart's being missed in this area, and try to intentionally say, what are we going to do to help reach them in this next season? And I think that during this time of turning our hearts more towards our homes, more like, even though it was kind of forced upon us, for better or worse, that I have seen some positive changes, that I've seen the relationships that have formed differently with my kids is really special.
Yes.
That's been a beautiful thing for us. The friendships and the way that they play together, because like they've become each other's only real friends for a long while, has been really beautiful. What have been some of the things that you guys have seen that have been good, that maybe you don't want to lose? Like you want to make sure you hold on to those good things.
I feel like there's been a lot of positives in our home. I think I mentioned it before, but just kind of knowing them more. I feel like I know them more because I feel like we lived this hurried life where we'd, you have school and then you have homework and you go to sports and all the things. And I just remember hurrying them a lot. You know, if somebody had a tantrum about putting their shoes on, that was a big deal because then we would be late to the next thing. And now you can have a tantrum about putting your shoes on because we have time for that, and we will sit and talk about your feelings. And so that's been a really positive thing. We also have been doing some dates, one-on-one dates with our kids, and we did that before, but now we've just been a little bit more intentional. And so for our kids, it's like could be a walk around the block or drive through and get a McDonald's cone and then play checkers in the back seat of the van, or, you know, just little things like that. But those have been so valuable because I feel like just asking the kids questions and really listening and really having that time to look in their little eyes and hear their hearts. And some of them have really big things on their hearts, and you forget that with littles.
And isn't it crazy when you're with each other all the time already?
Yes.
You think I've heard and seen it all. Right. And then when you have the space, it's like these feelings just come overflowing. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
I know. It's huge to get to hear from their heart. So that's been a really big thing. And then we have this thing, my husband calls it Holmstrom family question time, and it's just at bedtime. We have longer tuck-ins now too, but at bedtime we say, you know, is there anything that you're thinking in your mind or feeling in your heart that you haven't told me yet? And so they will share big things. Sometimes it's, you know, the littler ones, it's something silly, but you know, some of the older ones shared things that they had felt guilty about that we didn't even know, or something that they had picked up on that we had talked about that they were questioning, and they might have never asked that question if we hadn't have done that. So those have been some positive things.
Yeah.
That's so good. I love that. I think some similar things, you know, we've started doing one-on-one walks with a kid, you know, since we have 5 Monday, you know, through Friday, we can do that, you know, and they can pick.
So sweet.
It's been good, you know, and if something comes up, we make sure to make it up, you know, if something comes up in the evening. But that's been something, like you were saying, just having that one-on-one time. And
Okay, this is going to have to be a thing. I'm going to have to figure out one-on-one time now.
yeah. And it's just,
Friday.
I mean, they look forward to it, you know, and I think it's important for them. I'm really seeing that, especially having 5 and but yeah, and also same thing, I feel like we're not hurrying. Actually, today was the first day we went to church. It was outside, and I was like, oh my goodness, we're leaving the house and we need to be somewhere on time.
And everyone has to have shoes.
I know.
Like real shoes, your own shoes. You can't wear someone else's.
Exactly. But they were excited, you know, but it would just but you know, we were a little bit late, you know, but I was just like,
Of course.
you know, it was one of the
But
first
you were late
times.
with smiles.
Yes, but I was
Right.
like, I'm not going to worry. Like, guys, we're going to get there, and we're not going to be anxious about it, you know? And so I feel like a retraining with myself, you know. There's a quote that I've really loved, from a book that John Mark Comer wrote about hurry, and it says,
So good.
yes, have you read it? Oh,
Yes.
good. Yes.
You gotta read it.
It's so good. It's called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry.
Okay.
And the whole premise, the main thing, the quote was, hurry is incompatible with love. And yeah, that's it. Hurry is incompatible. And even with spiritual life, it was a quote from Dallas Willard that said, you must ruthlessly eliminate hurry from your life. Hurry is incompatible. Oh, it's the biggest enemy to spiritual life in our modern world. And I think just as a parent, especially, like really internalizing that, I feel like over the last couple of years, even, you know, for me, but this quarantine and everything has really slowed things down for me.
It's been like this beautiful, forceful slow down in some ways.
Yes.
Yes.
For sure.
I think that's something I don't want to lose, which is hard because our
Yes.
culture says you need to be a part of these things. And these things are really good.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about that, of the difference of the good and the great. And like, what are all of the things that we do, and which
Yes.
of them are good, and which of these things are great?
Yes.
And how do we choose to claim these great things that really are reaching the hearts of our children, and maybe even serving our own hearts so that we're better moms too?
Yes.
How do we hold on to these great things even when we're choosing what we're going to be doing next, and not sacrifice the great things that will have lasting
Totally.
weight for good things?
Yeah.
Because, you know, that's what people do.
Yes.
So
But it's
everybody
hard.
else does. We don't have time for the good things or the
Right.
Right.
okay things, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really challenged even the outside activities that
Yes.
we used to do, you know, and it's made me really question, okay, what's really necessary. You know, maybe this is just not the season to do any of those things. And in some ways, I'm a little glad. Like,
Yes.
it's not open, so I'm not, you know, I guess we can't go. We'll
kids
focus
can't
on
even
some
complain
other.
about it.
Yeah, you know, and so, I mean, the kids, I know for my kids, they've had their moments of, oh, I miss this and I miss this. And we have, you know, we express those emotions, but I mean, I think they're quick to find other things to do. And it's just been really neat to see.
Well, and I think that's a perfect segue into this. I've been thinking, you hear this phrase new normal right now all the time. And especially my older, it's so interesting. We try to so guard them from like the doom and gloom of what's been going on. But even in his, you know, just being aware of our conversations, like you said, he's heard this phrase so many times, and it's not a good thing in his heart. And it's not, when I think about it, I don't think, when I hear the new normal, I mean, my first thought is like separation and distant and masks and boards around ourselves and, you know, staying separate in stores. And I'm like, oh, that's so sad.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about all the things that have been good and what things I want to create in our home to be part of a beautiful new normal for us that will carry on past this.
Yes.
That I'll be able to say this was a season that God used to create something new and beautiful in our home that I don't ever want to lose. So what of those things do you feel like you're taking to help shape a beautiful new normal season for your family?
Well, going along with the not being in a hurry thing, my whole life I've wanted to do a day, like a real day of Sabbath rest where we turned off our phones and all that stuff, and I never...
You just don't even know. Michelle's like a champion at that.
Oh, I want to
Oh, my
learn
goodness.
from you, Michelle.
So sweet.
You got to tell me, because we just started, but it's changed everything.
great.
So at the beginning of quarantine, it's like we had no excuse anymore. And so Friday night, I just turn off my phone until Saturday night. And we it's so funny. We just have had pizza usually, and we light these little tea candles that I got at Target.
Yes.
And the kids even made a sign that says like Happy Sabbath and put it up. And I didn't know they would be so excited about it. Because the only thing we do different is I'm not just multitasking. I'm not also working and also like folding laundry while we play hide and seek and all, you know, all the things I usually do. And they just,
Because the laundry does have to get folded.
Yes, it still does.
Yes.
So that has been really, really helpful. And then another new normal is just like breathing more. We do a lot of breath prayers together and stopping to breathe, like in the middle of a time when normally I would lash out or they would lash out. That's been something we've just been able to practice during this time. And then some things that don't take time, like just smiling at them more and them having a more peaceful mom. Yes. I'm still working on it, but it's happening, you know? And so that's something that doesn't take more time from our to-do list, but it's like, okay, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to be with you all day. So I'm going to smile and look like it's fun, even when it's not. And I'm going to breathe and cry out to God, and you're going to learn to do that same thing. So those are a few of the things.
That's so good.
And isn't it funny that it does have to be intentional sometimes? I mean, it's not funny, it's sad. I don't think I didn't know that until I was a mom. Like, I think my mom still always really did smile all the time because she liked it.
My mom did too. I know. I have to remind myself too.
Yeah. Well, I think a couple things, Sabbath, but also I set an alarm on my phone. I heard this from a lady, but I set an alarm on my phone at 9, at noon, and 3 and 6. I had to take off 3 and 6 just because of quiet time and stuff like that. But it says stop and praise God. And so when it goes off, like my kids know, Mom, it's time to stop and praise God, you know? And sometimes it goes off in really convenient times, you know, where I'm like, okay, guys, let's put on a song. Let's, you know, do it. And other times the kids will be into something or, you know, I'm, you know, talking to a kid, you know, it's just, it comes at some really good times where we have to stop
Good
and
hard
enter
times.
in. Yes.
Yes.
And that was around the quarantine that I started as a discipline because I was getting down at the beginning. Just, oh my goodness, you know, it is hard. But also, Sabbath, if you want me to touch on that a little bit, like that's something that my family and I have been really trying to implement for 1.5 years. But when we hit the quarantine, I feel like we had to kind of work it a little bit more. But yeah, we look forward to Friday nights. We have a special dinner, we light candles, we read a little of the Bible together, and then we just rest. Like we have a special candle that has a scent that's only for Sabbath. And my husband says, can you light it like a half an hour before I get home so I can smell it when I walk in the door, And it's been such a blessing to us because, I think it has really helped me. I went through a season of 2 years of burnout, just with a lot of things going on. And Sabbath has really helped me through God to really reclaim just my soul and like not burning out. And then next all of Saturday up until dinner, we just rest. And lately my husband and I have split up the day into 3. And so I get one chunk of like 4 hours just to myself to do whatever. He gets the next 4, and then the last 4 are family. So, during the morning when I have that time, my husband's got time with the kids. So it's like one-on-one with dad. And then, I usually just spend it. I park my car at the top of a hill. It's quiet. And I just have some quiet time, and reading is just glorious, it feeds my soul.
So yes.
And then he takes, so it's since the quarantine, we started that, and that has been really life-giving. And we've kind of joked like, can we keep this going after the quarantine,
Isn't it? It's tricky because even good things like, kids are gonna have birthday parties.
Yeah.
I know. Yes.
So like trying to figure out how we keep these beautiful things that our family has learned to love.
Yeah.
And I think is really important.
Totally. And modeling for the kids how to rest, and all that. It's a process, I think finding what works for you. We've tried things that did work and all that, but that's been such a lifesaver for us.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing that I'm hearing from like all of us is that it's all purposeful. Like date nights didn't just happen with your kids. Like Sabbath didn't just appear, none of those things just magically happened. And so no one else is going to plan our falls for us. And I think reconciling with these are the things that have been hard or have been disappointing or that I'm going to miss out on. And then taking that next step and saying, okay, what am I going to do with this is huge.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much. And it will be exciting to see. We'll have to come back together maybe like after fall into spring and be like, okay, what did we hold on to? What did we keep? And what things have been harder to keep and see how we like kept the good things or the great things, and didn't sacrifice them for the good. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Krista. So fun.
If you would like to hear more from Sarah Holmstrom, you can find her online at raisingprayerfulkids.com and Michelle Acromi at unhurriedfarm.com. It would be so nice if just listening to something encouraging made the positive changes in our lives, but we all know it doesn't work like that. I want to challenge you to join us in making some intentional choices to paint a beautiful picture for your family's fall. First, plan joy for yourself. You hold the power to set the tone for your family. When you are joyful, they will feed off of it. Unfortunately, when you're grumpy, they feed off of that too. It may seem unfair, but that doesn't make it less true. So consider what brings you joy and plan those things into your days. Maybe you can start by setting an alarm every few hours like Michelle did to get you in the habit of finding joy. When it goes off, choose to smile and say something nice to each of your children. Or use it as a reminder to hug your child and laugh out loud with them at the next moment that allows for it. If there are things in your life that steal your joy, eliminate them if you can. Obviously, if it's a coworker or a child, we can't eliminate them, but maybe it's social media or the news. Make a plan and choose to set a daily time limit for yourself. Then go dark the rest of the day. Nothing is worth stealing the joy from your heart and your home. Second, plan your commitments and activities intentionally. Get out a journal or some paper and make a list of what commitments or activities have been great for your whole family. Make another list of what has been just good. And finally, make a third list of what has been not so good. When you do this, try to be honest with yourself. Those commitments and activities on that great list that bring joy to everyone in your home, schedule those into your life as part of adopting that team mentality. Make those the priority and never trade the good things for the great. Third, Plan your family relationships intentionally. If you don't plan time with each of your children and your spouse, it will not just happen on its own. Now, be realistic and gracious with yourself in this. It will look different for every family. While I love the idea of one-on-one walks each day, my husband often works long hours, so that wouldn't work for us. And since our girls share a bedroom, I've realized that while bedtime works really well as a check-in point with my son, it doesn't work with my girls. So consider your family culture and each of your children individually to plan for intentional one-on-one time. This could be weekly or monthly, but it has to be scheduled. I would love to hear and share your creative plans to put these challenges into action. I think it will really inspire some other moms. You can leave your ideas in the comments below or on our website. Thank you for joining us today. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss any of our weekly conversations. And check out our show notes below where I have links to the resources mentioned on the podcast. I release a new podcast every Monday and additional content at seekwhollyliving.com, including a video of this conversation and a deeper dive into all things mom. Also, be sure to follow me on Instagram and Facebook at seekwhollyliving for more fun and conversation. If this was an encouragement to you, please share it with your friends. Join us for next week's podcast, where we will discuss how to talk with kids about difficult topics.